Okay, good morning to one and all.
Good
Hope all of
afternoon.
you are able to listen to my voice. This is the first class. I may not take too much of your time today. Already in the morning, you had some introductory class. And basically, I will share my screen and then slowly come into the context. All of you are able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What do you see right now?
Command prompt, sir.
Wonderful, wonderful. So that's good. Because this is online meeting, like we need to sync, like because what I'm doing, are you able to see that for some time this handshake is required? So whenever you are requested, kindly reply to that so that the actual sessions will be more interesting. Okay, so this is one aspect of it. Actually, I have changed my what it is, the video conferencing tool. Earlier, Google Meet I was using. Today, we are using Zoom technologies because we are trying to record them so that the recorded sessions can also be made available to you. And remember that this is a course common to all the four branches like MTech Computer Science and Engineering, MTech Software Engineering, MTech Computer Networks and Information Security, and Data Science. So we have basically four branches for MTech specializations in our school. And all the four branches have foundations of computer science as a common subject. And I am handling to all the four branches. This is the first year, first semester, foundations of this. Objectives anyhow is there, no issue. Essentially, the subject is divided into 5 units. Out of these 5 units, the first 3 units talk about Java, core Java, you can say, right? Java language. You must be comfortable in writing small programs for the problems that are asked. So first unit is Java basics and several other things are there. And then second unit, some kind of inheritance, creating subclasses and all that, exception handling, other 3 units. And the fourth unit talks about operating system. Operating system as well as computer organization, you can say. That is the fourth unit. Fifth unit talks about database. MySQL database or MariaDB database. Either of them is good enough as a part of that. So that is about the syllabus part of it. I will share this particular document to you so that you can also have a look at it. All right. So altogether there are about 16 participants. I think all of you are comfortable in using Zoom. Slowly we will. And today this is what it is. Right. So this is the syllabus part of it. The other important thing is because initially I will start with Java, core Java, installation of JDK. So essentially, this is a course which is called as audit course. Audit course meaning that you need to attend the classes, you need to take the mid exams, you need to write the end exam also, and you should also pass the exam. But the grades, whatever that you get, will not be counted for awarding the degree. That means to know whether you are to be given first class or distinction, what kind of uh, distinction is to be given to you. For that calculation, these marks will not be counted. This is an audit course. So, but remember the course is very important course because once you understand this particular course, the subject details within this and so on, you can understand the other subjects very easily. Right? You can understand the other subjects easily if you are able to do better in this. So there is no lab component for this course as it is, but still I insist that all of you have to write programs, whatever that we discuss, on the system and verify them. And any additional problems that are given, you should try to solve them, so on and so on. So for that, you require a Java compiler and the interpreter and other tools, all those things. And that is available through Java JDK. And that link also is provided here. And to write programs in Java and all that, you require some editor. And NetBeans is a good editor as a part of it, NetBeans IDE. So NetBeans, along with the JDK, Java Development Kit, is available as a single installation available on Oracle. It is available on Oracle there as a part of it. So that way, like I'm just providing the link so that you can install on your laptops and work on them later on and all that. That is one, this link talks about that. This links talk about that particular thing. Then like these days, in fact, in my view, you don't require a teacher to learn anything because you have so much of content, internet content on the internet, both in the form of textual form, textbooks are available, and web content is available, interactive web content. Like videos are available, in fact, recorded videos on YouTube or any other channels. So the only thing is you must have strong intent to learn the things. Ultimately, the learning will happen only with your participation. No matter however good a teacher is, they cannot force you, right? So unless you accept that you want to really learn it and so on. So in that context, like you have to, all of you have to. Okay, so there is some new people are joining. Okay, so let me like show you like this particular beginner's book, the link beginner's book here as a part of it. This is a link, right? And here, like a lot of other languages are also there as a part of it and so on. You have Java examples and you also have Java. These two links, you may have to follow them. Maybe a little bit on Java collections and a little bit of Java IO may be required as a part of it. The Java string processing and all that may also be useful to you, right? So for example, Java examples, whenever I click on this, there's so many simple programs that are given here so that you can start small and then start understanding what they are and all that. You can take a look into this particular thing. All of you are following what I am saying? Am I going at a good speed or slow? What is that? Is this speed good enough?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. I think most of you are already familiar with the Java by any chance? Because this this is a combined class for software engineering and computer science. You might already be aware of it, right? Isn't it? You might have studied in the course, BTech course.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Even otherwise, we'll be starting from the scratch. That's okay. But essentially have some idea, right? All of you have some idea about that particular entity. Let me show you now, like what you call the installation part of it, this particular thing, because on this machine I have not done. I used a different machine for the other class and all that. And let me also first, what you call like share this particular document to all of you, with all of you rather. Let me save it. Okay, so I have just sent this particular document to all of you, to your group. I hope that some of you might have received this particular thing. You can probably read it later on. Just I am what it is. This is a beginning class. We are trying to set everything right so that you can start understanding later on. That is the idea behind. Okay, so let me install this software also because it is anyhow required. First of all, let me know whether this is already installed or not. So when you say Java C, this is how you can verify whether it is already installed or not because it's saying not recognized. So the JDK is not installed on this particular system. Now I will just follow the instructions from here. This is the link. This is the link that I will have to click on. And this will take you to the Oracle this thing. And here on the Oracle platform, you need to accept the license agreement, right? You have to click on that. After that, you have to select an appropriate link here. You have the software first, 32-bit softwares are available, 64-bit also available. Depending upon your operating system, if it is 64-bit, you can choose 64-bit version here. Otherwise, a 32-bit version. 64-bit means x64. You have to choose. 32-bit means x86. So in Windows, you have two platforms, Windows x86, Windows x64. For Linux also you have two, and for Mac anyhow, the other things are there. So how do you know whether your operating system is 32-bit or 64-bit and so on? It depends upon the OS, what you are using and all that. If it is Windows like this, you will normally find. On the settings, you should be able to find that, right? So here, when you go on to this particular thing, display system and all that particular thing here, and then display here about. When you click on about, right, this is what it is. So within the settings, system and then about, here you can see all the details. Windows 10 home, single language, and all that OS build, experience pack and all that it is saying. And on the top, system type 64-bit operating system, x64 based processor. So like this, you can find out what is the operating system that you are currently running. Within the settings, system, within the system about, when you click on that, you will get. Anyhow, so slowly you need to get used to these things. So right now we require 64-bit version, 64-bit version. So let me just go into that particular thing. Somewhere we have already opened, right? So it should be available, right? This is the one. Actually, it has opened in uh, Internet Explorer equivalent, Edge browser. So that's why it is there here. No issue. So we require Windows x64. I'm just clicking on this particular thing. Either you can click on that straight away or you can save it. Right button, save link as. I'm just right button, then save link as. It is asking where to save. So within this PC downloads folder. Downloads folder is good enough, or probably I will put it onto my desktop here. I have created one folder for foundations of computer science. I will just copy it to that particular place. So I'm just copying that. It is a large file, about 326 MB. You require some reasonably good internet connection to download and then install and all that. It's a one-time job. So it may take about another a minute or so. But meanwhile, you can see here, this is the structure of a program, structure of a Java program. All of you must pay attention to what is the syntax of a language while writing your program, and what is the general structure of a program, right? Only then you can very easily, comfortably start writing them and so on. So your Java program is basically, it's going to be a class file actually. It's going to contain a class containing methods and variables. Right? You can only, because Java is object-oriented programming language, only you can develop classes in order to write programs and so on. If it is non-object oriented, normally you develop functions only, right? Functions and all that. In Java language, functions are called as methods. Methods, each method or a function, both are one and the same. So essentially a class will contain a number of methods and a number of variables or attributes. So we will try to write a small hello world program in today's thing. The downloading is done right now on this particular thing. So I'm clicking on that. After downloading, you'll have to just simply click on that. Then it will say, do you want to allow this app to this thing and all that? So you're installing essentially. If you double click on what you call the executable file, then it will try to install by unpacking all the files that are there and then storing them into different folders, all that. That is what you mean by. It is actually trying to install into program files, Java, JDK and all that. If you don't want to install in that particular place, you can also specify a folder there and all that. So right now I'm just choosing the default things, is good enough. So it is also saying NetBeans also is there as a part of it. So you can install both of them, no issue. And then check for updates, anything are there. So you are going you are selecting all the default options, right? So and then now it is trying to install it, whatever. So this part we have already done it. So let me close whatever are not required. This part, let it be there, no problem. Settings you don't require, I can close it. This is a Word file. Then this is a command prompt. This is the meeting controls. Coming back to the Word file, the textbooks that are required also is mentioned here. There is one textbook for Java, one for operating systems, and one for databases. So 3 books are required. It's not that all the 3 books you will be mastering the complete thing. As far as OS is concerned, only the basics of that. Whatever minimum required will be there as a part of it. Database also similarly. Java, core Java to some extent. Then some reference books are also mentioned here as a part of it. So it is still installing, about 39% it has done. So the hello world like small program here, if you just pay attention to this program, you have to develop a class. right? And the keyword, like the general structure will be public. Public is a keyword. Class also is a keyword. Class also is a keyword. Hello. జయనా చెప్పండి. అయ్యాను కొంచెం తర్వాత అయ్యాను. నేను ఇప్పుడు రైట్ నౌ క్లాస్లో ఉన్నా. రైట్, మళ్ళీ మాట్లాడు. రైట్, నో ప్రాబ్లం. రైట్, ఓకే, థ్యాంక్ యూ. Okay, so public is a keyword by which you are making the following as a public, meaning that so and so is accessible from any of the other classes and all that. That's what you mean by. You can restrict, right, a particular class to be used only in some files and all that. So you can go into that a little later. For the time being, you can say public. And then whenever you want to create a new class, you say class. Class is a keyword. Then class name. Public class, class name. Right? So add 2 numbers is the name of the class. You can give any suitable name. It is okay. There are certain rules for giving the names. Most of the times, the names are going to begin with alphabets. And after that, a combination of alphabets and numbers can always be there and so on. So you can always there. So the class name, and then curly brace begins. This begins. So whenever this curly brace begins means that you can now type in lot of things till such time its corresponding closing curly brace comes. So this is the corresponding closing curly brace. Whatever is there in between this curly brace beginning and this curly brace ending, this entire thing in between constitutes this particular class, right? So that is how you say this is the beginning of the class, this is the end of the class. Or this is the beginning of the method, this is the end of the method. Or this is the beginning of the block and this is the end of the block. So curly brace, starting curly brace is used for beginning, closing curly brace is used for ending. All of you are familiar with that. And then what can be there within a class? You can declare the variables if you want, so that whenever you create an object of a class, those variables will hold the actual values of that particular object. So for the time being, we are not interested in any of the real class as it is. We want to only simply write a program to display something, that kind of stuff. So whenever you want to run any class, you want to run a class, right? There are 2 types of classes. A class that can be executed or a class that can be run. The other one is a class that can be used to create objects. If you want to create a class, in order to run the program, in order to execute the program, if you want to create a class, then this signature is required. This main method, what is declared here, will be there only in the classes which are to be used to execute the programs. So you will have, that means what do you mean by that? This class is used to run a program. But while running the program, it might use many other classes to create their objects, do some other thing and all that stuff. So remember, like this signature is required in only those classes that you want to really run them. For the time being, you say public. That means this method is accessible from outside other files and all that. Static meaning that this method is a static method. Static method. Static method means a method that can be called through the name of the class. The methods can be called either through a name of a class or through an object of the class. So you can execute static methods only through the what you call class names. Non-static methods cannot be executed directly through class names because you require an object for that. You require an object for that particular entity. So let me go back to this. Setup complete, it is saying. Contribute to something, to launch ID, it is saying 31 updates. So several other things it is saying. Let me just simply say finish. Now, after installation, if you just look into this icon is there, NetBeans IDE icon. This icon has come only because you have installed now. So when you double click on this now, NetBeans, this thing, now it is running the NetBeans IDE. NetBeans IDE. Now it is going to tell you as a beginning, so many things, so on, startup, several other things. It is loading, in fact, all of them, starting page and all that. Okay, so now you can learn any of these things as such. You don't require as a part of it. Now you can just, this is a starting page. You can close it, in fact, not required actually. If you want to learn, then you can click on them and so on. But at the time being, you don't need this. So now it is saying projects and all that. I don't have control over increasing the font size on these things. Later we'll see like how to use some other editor and all that. But for the time being, I'm just simply saying create a new project, right? Create a new project by selecting file and then new project. Now, right now I want to write a Java program because this IDE can be used to develop different kind of programs. So you have to specify what kind of program or project that you want to develop. So I'm saying it is a project is a Java project. So you have to select category as a Java and project as Java application. Java application. That's good enough. And then next. And then what is the project name? A project can contain a number of class files, a number of programs, in fact, right? Like which are related to a particular domain or whatever. Right now, our project name is Foundations of Computer Science. I will just simply call it as FCS. That is the name of the, what it is, the project name. Whereas the class name can be different. Class name can be different. It is assuming class name to be the same here, but we can always give a different class name here as a part of it. So let me give let us say, what is the class that you want to develop? Right now, just now we have seen, right? So add two things or whatever that is there here. This is the class name that you want to develop, let us say, add two numbers. Add two numbers. I'm just simply copying it. And then here, I'm just pasting. Somehow it is not accepting. No way. Oh. So somehow it is not. Okay, let me just type in what is going to happen. Let me just simply say hello world or hi. Hi is the name of the class, right? And then finish. So to some extent, probably we should be able to increase the font size and all that. Let me, menu things and all that, I don't have any control, but these font size can be increased, I think. Let me just view, editor, source and all that, ID, toolbars, full screen, edit, copy, select, define source. So you are slowly, some of you are joining very of late. Okay. Today, first class is all right. So NetBeans I am not used to. I'm just, that's why, struggling a little bit, but there must be some mechanism by which font size can be increased. Toolbars, line numbers, equals, source, edit. It should be simple enough. NetBeans is a reasonably good IDE. Duplicator, format, refactor, some. Several other things are there, but it is not display.
Sir, once check tools tab, sir.
Huh?
Once check tools tab, sir.
Tools,
Tools tab. In that, go to options, sir, once.
Oh, okay, thank you. That's what I'm just looking for, where options is and order. Editor. Holding, okay. Fonts and colors, right. Okay. So default character, language, all languages, highlighting, all that. Thank you. 16 circle. Now going a little bit better compared to the previous thing. Thank you for your suggestion here. These things are all unwanted things that normally get automatically added when you use this kind of IDEs, whereas you don't require all these things in the startup programs as a part of it. Anyhow, so this is a high, like you want to just simply display a high kind of thing. So essentially, if you pay attention to this project area, you have a project is FCS is a project, and project related source programs, they are all stored here. Any libraries are there, they can be stored here. So under this FCS, you have oi.java. This project name is FCS. Within the project FCS, there is a package called FCS package. A package is useful in order to group a number of related classes together as one entity. It's almost like computer science is more of a common sense kind of thing. How you want to organize your data or your things. How do you want to organize? Right? So here you want to organize your programs. Programs means lot of statements will be there, right? A number of statements will be there. But you don't just simply type in all of them and then say every time and all that. Instead, what we do, so we will identify some common things and name a group of related statements. When executed, we'll do some useful stuff, let us say. So then we might call it as a method, right? You combine a number of related statements. When executed will happen something. So you give a suitable name to that, and that name is like your method name or function name kind of it. Similarly, there might be a number of useful methods that are required that are related to a particular activity. You may call it as a class or whatever. A class contains a number of methods. Similarly, there might be a number of useful classes that you want to develop so that they are all grouped under one category, and that category we call it as a package. Right? It is a hierarchical way of organizing your things. Right? Like even you take a textbook, you don't just simply write all whatever thoughts that you get just like that, right? So you organize your thought process of writing a book and divide that book writing into a number of chapters. So that the first chapter you talk about introduction, the second chapter about maybe the beginning or whatever. So some stuff depending upon that. You take Mahabharata, there might be 18 volumes there or 18 chapters there. So you talk about chapter number 1, maybe the birth of Kauravas and Pandavas, something like that, right? And so on. Similarly, here also, you try to organize your programs, right? So you have to think of all your thought process and bring some what you call streamlined way of organizing the thing so that you can understand and others who also look at your program can also understand. So the languages will provide mechanisms of organizing things in a better way. So Java language is providing what all the things, a group of statements can be given a name and you call it as a method. A group of methods are related under a particular thing and you call it as a class. A group of classes that are all related to a particular activity or domain or whatever, you call it as a package. So there may be a number of packages like that, right? So all the packages can be put under one particular project. So like that. So that is how things are actually organized here. So whenever you want to create a new package or whatever, how do you do that? You just simply, there is a keyword called a package keyword and then package name. Package name. This is optional, in fact, not compulsory or mandatory. If you don't have package followed by package name, the Java language will consider it as a default package. So there will be certain default actions. Whenever certain things are not mandatory or compulsory things, then there are some default assumptions it will always assume. Right? So package is not mandatory there. Similarly, if you want to use classes developed by somebody else, right? You want to use the classes developed by somebody else, then you require a mechanism for doing something, and that you normally call it as import. Import followed by the corresponding class name. That means you are instructing the compiler that I want to use the classes developed by or the classes that are available within a particular package. So import package name dot class name dot something. So there is a dot name, dot convention is very popular in object oriented languages. So very heavily it's going to be used. In what places, for example, because you are actually putting all the statements or actions part, you are not making them available on the top level. You are keeping all of them, all the actions part, that means statements. So you want to do something, right? So doing something is an action. So those things are not readily available to you. They are all put inside a method. They are all put inside a method. Then how are you going to execute that method? So depending upon where that method is actually written, because that is going to be ultimately kept inside a class. Method cannot be floating around. So methods must always be put inside a class. Class will always be put inside a package. This is how it is. So in order to access something, what do you say? You'll always talk about package name dot, class name dot, method name, followed by all the parameters. So that is a general convention there that you are going to do that. For example, here, by default, Java language is going to import a package called lang package, java.lang, right? There is a package called java.lang. So that importing will always be done by default. Import java.lang. This is not required. You don't have to do that, right? So, whereas if you want to use other classes, you may have to do that. For example, there is something called java.util, right? So java.util, that is a class. That is a package rather. Under that package, there are so many classes. So your IDE now, your NetBeans IDE is helping you to list all the things that are available there. You don't have to remember. But it is always a good way of remembering things. Remembering doesn't mean that you are by heart. Because when you organize things in a better way, even in our mind also, we will organize the things such that you don't feel a burden, right? You don't feel it as a burden when you are organizing things in a better way. So it's also required sometimes, but these IDs will really help you in the moment you type in a part of it, then it's going to help you. Okay, what do you want there and all that particular thing. So like this, you can also import them anyhow. So for the time being, because it's only a simple hello world program, you don't require any of them. So right now, I want to say hello, kind of it. So there is a class called system class that is available in what you call a lang package. Already it's showing there java.lang.system. The moment I type system here, right? System dot. And then what is that I want? I want to display it. So output device you are interested. So system dot out. System is a class name. Within the class, you are accessing out through the system class means you are accessing out through a class means that out must have been a static object. So it should have been declared as static kind of entity. Anyhow, so system dot out dot and then print. So you have print, println, printf also is there in fact. If you take a look into, it's giving all the list here. So let me use a printf because all of you are familiar with C language also. So you can use printf also as a part of it. System.out.printf off within the bracket. Now you can specify what is the language, right? In which language? Is it in German language? That kind of stuff also can be used in fact. For the time being, it's only English language. So you specify the formatting. Printf, for the printf, what do you do normally? The first parameter is a format string. Second, third parameters, those are the actual data that is to be displayed as per the format specified. Right? So you specify I followed by percentage yes, for example. And after that, you can say percentage n. Percentage means like you are saying that a string is to be displayed here. %n in the case of Java language, actually, it is equivalent to reverse slash n. Reverse slash n also can be used here, in fact. Let us see here. Like you want to have a new line there as a part of it. Now, what is that you want to display? What is that you want to display? I percentage yes. Right? So that means here, I would like to say I followed by, let us say, FCS students. Right? FCS students. So, and then at the end, semicolon. These IDs, as you can see, they will always be in the background verifying whether what you are typing is syntactically correct or not and so on. Right? So, whereas initial stages, you can also use command line kind of thing so that there won't be so much resource crunch and all that. So, system.out.printf and so on in that particular sense. Now, let me save it. I.java is there. It might already be saved. So let me save all kind of it. And after that, simply run it, right? So whenever you want to run it, so here there is a run project. So this is one way of doing it. So already you can see here the output. I FCS students in the bottom. Everything is all right now. So everything is all right. This is one way of doing that. The other way of doing it is just simply click on right click here on the class name, whatever class that you want to run. Right click on that and then just simply say run file. That way also you can do, because under this particular FCS package, there may be a number of Java files that you will be writing. So whenever you want to run any specific thing, you have to choose that particular thing by using the mouse, right click, and then simply run. Whereas when there are so many Java files under the same package here, there will be a default. One of them will be attached as a default one, so that whenever you run that package, it's going to run that particular what it is class as a part of it. That particular thing as a part of it. So this is how you can actually do that. And all of them are there as a part of it. Like let us see here by any chance we can know where exactly it is storing all of them as a part of it. So you should be able to see the properties file. So it is saying like class path or whatever, all that it is actually saying, and then this particular thing, all files, NetBeans projects, right? Essentially in the what you call OneDrive, right? Documents. So within this, like let me just navigate through the browser kind of a thing, file explorer or whatever. So where exactly it's storing all of them? Let us take a look into that. So it is saying documents actually. Under the documents, NetBeans projects. There is a folder called NetBeans projects. And within this, it has created a FCS folder. We have not done anything, right? By using the NetBeans, when you created a NetBeans project, it has created all these things, right? So here we can go into that. So you have build folder, NB, source. So within the source, you will have FCS folder again. And here you have the hi.java. This is the place where it has actually kept. So like this, it is going to organize. Under the FCS, you also have the build. In the build, normally you will find all those, what I call class files, compiled classes. They will all be there as a part of it. So within this FCS, so you have hi.class. You see, remember, Java language, you cannot run your Java program straight away, right? So first you have to compile. You have to compile your Java program, and that compiler, what is the compiler here? Java C. The name of the compiler is Java C actually. So there is another way by which you should be able to do that. In fact, here we tried, right? I told you Java C and all that. It's not coming naturally. So because we are using IDE. So by using this mechanism also, you should be able to do that. Let me like what it is, complete that particular part. If you want to run any command, you have to include the path of that particular command as a environment variable called path environment variable. All of you might be already, at least you must have heard about it, right? There is something called a path environment variable. So we can see here, for example, so when you run the command prompt, there are different ways, in fact. If you want to run the command prompt, here itself you can say CMD. When you type it, it's going to come there here as a part of it. CMD, search in the results, or run as administrator, or open, whatever, command prompt. So this is what you want to, this thing. So you are going to get this. That's okay. But if you want to know, a number of variables will be there, environment variables. These things are called as environment variables. How do you display the environment variables? By just simply typing set. SET is the name of the command. When you give it, there is one environment variable called path environment variable. This path is going to contain list of the folder names. What are the folders that contain the commands? Right? Whenever you type a command here, right? So it will look for the corresponding executable file in the folders that are provided as a path variable. So here, as you can see, program data, Oracle, Java, Java path. This is one thing is there. Windows System 32 is there. So like this, like colon separated. Normally you call them as semicolon separated here, whatever. Right? There are a number of list of all those things. Let us first find out where exactly is this Java C is installed. Where exactly is the Java C installation is actually done. So go into the C folder. So whenever you install it, try to actually display where exactly you want to install and all that. We didn't care much. But anyhow, let us now look into that. Program files x86. We have gone into that particular thing. Let us see here. Do we have anything specific here? Program files x86, internet, Google, dummy, and all that. I don't know. It may not be there in the program files. If you just see here, this particular thing contains that, right? So in the C folder, program files, and then Java, right? Go into Java folder, and then there are two folders. One JDK, the other one is JRE. JRE means Java runtime environment. Runtime environment is good enough if you want to run the Java classes, Java programs, and all that. But if you want to develop programs, you want to write programs, compile them, and do all that, then you require JDK. Java Development Kit, where you can write your programs, you can compile and generate class files, and you can execute those class files by using Java interpreter. Essentially, this Java runtime will contain Java interpreter. JDK will contain your Java compiler also, Java C kind of it. So you can go into this JDK, for example. In this, you have bin folder. In the bin folder, you have the Java C command. Right? This is the actual compiler. This is the interpreter. Java is the interpreter. So this particular path, right? This entire folder must be included as your environment variable path. Then it's going to actually work. For example, copy that. And then either you should be able to set here, or you should be able to, what it is, use the system environment variable and all that, right? So here you type in environment variable. See there, edit the system environment variable. Right? This is for Windows 10. So if you type in here, it's going to take you there and all that. Now I am setting the corresponding thing, environment variable. So here you take the path and then edit. Use variables for PS so and so this thing, system variables so and so. So let me edit this particular thing for the system wide kind of thing. And then edit. All of them are there. Now you'll have to add one more. New, edit and all that. So just simply say new. So here, just now I have copied that. So just simply paste it. Right? Bin folder. So that folder also it's going to now do that. Then okay, kind of it. Similarly, for class files and all that, there will be another what you call environment variable called class path. We'll come to that a little later. For the time being, let me complete this particular thing. So only this part of it. So this is done now. So even after doing that, now if you just simply see what it is, Java C by any chance. So still it doesn't work because at the time of loading this, the corresponding environment variable is not there as a part of it. So now you again try to go back and then type in CMD and then come here. And here now you see Java C. See there? Now it is running, doing something. That means we have set the path environment variable. That's the reason why it is able to do all of that. Now we can easily compile our programs by going into that particular folder, doing some stuff there and all that, right? So without using IDE also, you can develop programs if you wish right now without using that particular IDE stuff. How to do that? Let us actually go into the corresponding folder. So what is the folder where all our programs are there? So let us actually go into that particular thing, documents, then a NetBeans project. So FCS, and then source, and FCS iJava. So this is the this thing as such. So here, what we will do is, so we will go into that particular folder and then create a file there without using IDE. Let's do that. Let us do that particular task. How you can actually do that? Let us take a look into that. So go into this particular folder, CD, and then followed by this one. So this is the folder where right now you are there, and there is one file is already there, hoy.java, whatever. Now we will take up some other editor, probably Notepad, right? Notepad is a very primitive, IDE, primitive editor, you can call it. Notepad followed by, what shall we do? We'll call it as add numbers or whatever, right? Add numbers. Add two numbers. Add two numbers. Dot Java. Add two numbers dot Java. So cannot find this particular, you want to create a new file? Yes, very much. Right? So then it is opening this particular thing. So we can copy as it is, whatever is already there as a part of that, probably we can copy that particular thing. So this one, this entire thing, right? So no package, nothing of that particular kind. So, and then come back to this editor and then paste. So here you are doing public class, add two numbers, all these stuff, whatever it is. So it is basically doing what? Already 5 and 15 are already there. It is adding 5 and 15, always displays 20 as a result. So now you save it. Save this particular entity. So save it and come out. Now, if you take a look into here directly, there are two files. hi.java, add two numbers.java. So now I'm not using any of the NetBeans help, right? So straight away you say Java C followed by add two numbers.java. This is how you can actually compile. So what is that it is saying? Class is public, should be declared in a file named this thing. So that's the problem. So this is one good thing when you actually experiment without having anything in your mind, right? Because I'm giving the name of the file as add two numbers.java, whereas the name of the class is add inwards two numbers.java. So essentially, whenever you want to run your programs, then whatever is the name of the class, the same must be the name of the file name also. That is one of the conditions in Java. So if your file name is different, your class name is different. That's why it is generating an error here. Either you should change the name of the file or you should change the name of the class. We will change the name of the class actually. We'll change the name of the class. Add two numbers, this thing. So here, not the compiler, this thing, notepad, right? This is what we are interested. So here you enter the two, add two numbers, dot this, and then save it. Then save it. Come back. And again, compile it. And again, Java C followed by this one. See, this is the reason why I ask you to actually experiment, write programs, see there, definitely some error is likely to come. Then you will start thinking why it is. Then you will find another solution for that. So this is the incremental process of learning anything. Don't read a book and then think as if you know it. After reading a book, you will have some understanding of the corresponding subject. But when you start practicing, when you start implementing, so then it will get better and better. You already know it, but you are likely to commit some small mistakes. And in fact, you will learn more when you make mistakes. Because if I had just simply copied it into the same file or whatever, then no error. So you don't know this particular idea that your file name of Java file name must be the same as that of the class name that you have actually put it there. So anyhow, so now after compiling, it must have created a class file here, add two numbers.class. Whereas in NetBeans actually it is organizing things in a better way, in fact, especially when you are writing or developing bigger projects. You want to keep your Java files in one folder. You want to keep your compiled classes in some other folder, so that if you want to give your product, you will be giving only the class files. You don't give the Java source files, you won't give to anybody. Because that is your IP, right? Intellectual property. You don't want to give it. You only sell the your product. Microsoft, for example, it is not giving you the source code of the operating system. It's not giving you the source code of the Word program. It's only selling the Word program. We only have a right to use that, nothing else. Right? Similarly, like when you are developing the projects and all that, you set aside, you separate the folders that contain the programs is different. Folders that contain the executable or compiled code will be different. But at the time of learning the things, It's all okay for small things. You can keep the Java program in the same folder. You can also keep the what I call the class file also. But the IDEs will always help you anyhow. Production environment, whenever you go there, people will be using IDEs only. At the time of learning, you can always go in steps so that you understand things in a better manner. Now, you want to run the corresponding thing, you say Java followed by add followed by all that. After Java, you will have to specify add two numbers without any extension there, right? So, whereas for compilation, you have to specify the Java extension also, complete file name. While running the Java class files, you have to specify Java followed by class file name without the extension, without the extension. You can see some of these two numbers is 20 there as a part of it, right? So I think all of you are in sync. Are you following? Any doubts? Feel free to interrupt me in between whenever you feel that I am going a high speed or you are not able to follow it. Feel free to interrupt so that it will help others also, whoever are unable to, right? So what is your comment so far? Are you able to follow it?
Yes, sir.
Right? So others also, like only one person saying yes, always.
Yes, sir.
So there are about 19, meaning that even if you remove 4 or 5 candidates, there are about 10 students, maybe, I assume. Right? Hmm. So are you following any gaps there? Hereafter, whenever you attend the class, always like what it is, log into the session well in advance so that you don't lose any time there. Right? Hmm. There may be some difficulties here and there, but still, from your side, your effort, your intention must be strong enough. In spite of that, sometimes we will fail. That's different. Hmm. So these are two different ways of writing programs. In the command line, also you can do that, or you can use IDE. Both of them you try, and once you are comfortable, make use of IDE, no issue. Even in the exams and all that, you are free enough to use any of the IDEs, no problems, right? But also understand what is happening there as a part of these things. So up to this is okay now. Like now is that this is the actual bigger thing, an IDE containing so many navigation mechanisms and all that. That is always there, no issue. So here also, as you can see, even though you have updated there because you have written the same place, you can see here those things have come. Add two numbers.java has come and the corresponding class. But because we have compiled, so that class file also is coming here. But probably you can't run this here. I don't know, like you'll have to look into that particular thing. Run file if you see. So what it is, sum of the two numbers is 20. So it's able to do that, whatever, all that stuff. All right. So coming back to this particular thing. So nothing else is there anyhow. It's okay. So a little bit more because well, we have missed many classes. Whereas for the other branch, only 2 classes I think I've already taken. A little bit advanced compared to you, they are. But over a period of time, I want to sync all of you. Probably bring all the 4 branches also into one session. That is a plan I have, which I will reveal later on. But for the time being, uh, CS and SE separate, CNIS and data science separate is going on. Okay. But before that, I want to understand what is the nature of any of the general program, right? Any of the general program. Forget about language and all that. What will be there in any program when you consider, right? That is the idea here. So whenever you observe any program many a times, program requires some data, right, to operate on. It requires some data on which it would like to do some calculations or whatever. So essentially, it requires some input data, right? Program is anyhow that C program, Java program, that is different. But at the time of running the program, how it behaves normally is the general nature of that is that it requires, you have to identify what is the data on which this program has to do something. That something may be like displaying the contents of the file, or maybe converting lowercase to uppercase, or maybe doing some, what it is, the salary calculation, or probably displaying an image file. So it can be anything, or playing an audio file there. So these are the various program activities. For all of them, you have to identify what is the input data, right, on which this program is likely to work on. And after that, what is to be done? Do the necessary calculation. Do the calculation. Definitely it requires, so you have to do something there on that. After doing calculation, if you just simply silently do the calculation, will it be of any use? It may not be having any use. Ultimately, after doing all the necessary calculations, there is some intention behind running this particular program. So it has to ultimately display the result, or it has to play the result, depending upon the nature of the data. So in other words, output the result, right? Ultimately, it has to output the result. This is the nature of most of the programs. Most of the programs. That means what is to be done now? Like in every program, you have input data, output result. Doing the calculation is what is going to be different. Data also might be different, results also might be different. That's a different issue. So that means all of you should be comfortable in accepting the data or in reading the data, right? You must always first put enough attention on how to read the data. Different types of data. There are different types of data. I think all of you are familiar. Types of data. What types of data means? There might be numbers. Sometimes numbers might be whole numbers, integers, normally you call it. Or they might be real numbers. I'm not talking about Java here. It is a general program, right? So, like you may have to work on whole numbers, or sometimes you may have to work on real numbers. Fractions also might be there as a part of it. Or you would like to work on names of the candidates, names of the institutions, right? So that data is different. Similarly, you would like to work on different dates of the candidates. Institution establishment date, student like birth date or student joining date, employee joining date, employee relieving date. So like the dates also plays an important role. That means you must have a mechanism to represent dates within your program. You must have a mechanism to read a date. You must have a mechanism to display the date. Right? So these are the different data that you would like to work on. There may be various other things. I'm just to name a few. Sometimes the data might be of image in nature. Right? It may be an image where all those pixels, right? It is most of the time it's going to be a matrix of pixels. A matrix of pixels, a two-dimensional matrix of pixels. Each pixel is going to be of what kind of color pixel is there in that particular location. That's what you picture element, right? Short form for pixel. Similarly, you would like to work on sound data and play something. So like this, depending upon the nature of the application, you may have to work on various types of data. And there are different representations. How do you store that kind of data internally in the memory as well as on the secondary storage? For all that, there are again like a subject that is involved, different things are there. Integers, for example, how do you represent? By using 2's complement notation. Integers are represented by using 2's complement notation. So that you can store both negative as well as positive numbers. So you also have a mechanism sometimes you don't want to store any negative numbers. No negative marking is there. Your marks will always be 0 and above. Then there is no point in having a representation to have negative numbers also. So you require a mechanism to store such kind of data, unsigned integers. Unsigned integers, no signing. So it's always positive, that kind of stuff. Real numbers anyhow, normally depending upon again, how big a number you want to handle. How big a number you want to handle. Because if you want to store a bigger number, naturally you require more resource, more memory space. If you want to store a smaller number, you require a smaller memory space. So for that, the data types will actually talk about how much memory also is indirectly required for that. So by choosing an appropriate data type, you can choose the range of values that you can actually work on. I think all of you are familiar with short int. Right? Similarly, long int. Like this. That's what, that means short int means indirectly you are saying that it is a short integer. Probably 16 bits. Right? Long int means maybe 32 bits. Sometimes you want to work on even bigger one. There may be some languages that may support long int. Right? In which case it might work on 64 bits. Still bigger numbers. Sometimes you want to work on the number might be very big. It doesn't matter. In such cases, you may not have a data type there. You have the libraries actually. The libraries which will work on big integers. Right? So the libraries will take care of handling it will be a lot more flexible. You don't have to say at the time of initializing the value, you don't have to say only this much. You can initialize a small value, but you can keep using it so that it can actually take more space and store the values there and all that. So you have all kind of support is available from the various platforms for you to develop the solutions. Remember. So you should understand the limitations as well as the strengths of your language, your libraries, your packages. Hello? ఏదో ఎక్కడో మాట్లాడుతున్నారండి మీరు. అన్మ్యూట్ చేయండి మీరు. ఆర్తి షిండే. ఎవరు హూ ఇస్ టాకింగ్ దేర్? ఇంకా వస్తుంది వాయిస్ ఎక్కడి నుంచో. ఎవరు మాట్లాడేది అక్కడ? ప్లీజ్ అన్మ్యూట్ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్. జనరల్ గా దీంట్లో తెలుస్తుంది, ఇక్కడ జూమ్ లో now somewhat reduced. Thank you. Okay. So like this, as a part of a course, we will be engaged for about maybe 10 hours, 20 hours, 30 hours. It doesn't mean that that is the end of that particular subject, right? You are all given or exposed to some introductory level so that this and all can be done by using so-and-so or maybe languages, so-and-so concepts and so on. That's only the beginning. So that from there onwards, you'll have to grow by taking interest there, by developing small, little projects, right? And enhance your skills. That is very much required. And even after joining the organizations also, you will be enhancing your skills, like by engaging into the project development and so on, like that. So all of this is basically like continuous learning activity. So it's not that course is done, you got 100 out of 100, that's it. Not like that, right? So you are getting exposed to various platforms and what you can do, what you cannot, what are the limitations. If you want to do a little bit bigger thing there, what is the additional library skills that you have to actually learn. So all that like focus must be there on that. So right now we are now focusing on our idea on how to read the data and how to display the result, because these two aspects are common for all programs. If you don't even learn this, then you cannot do anything, right? After that, from program to program, depending upon the problem statement, the logic might vary, so that doing the calculation part will be varying. That anyhow, from one problem statement to another problem statement, depending upon the nature of the problem, you may have to apply your mind. That's a different issue. But you should not be short of about how to read the data and display the result. That should happen on the first day, or probably at least on the second day. So later on, you will be learning about various algorithms to do various things. For example, you have got a lot of data. You want to display the result in a sorted fashion, alphabetical order. You want to display all the students in their alphabetical order. So you should know about how to sort the students' data and then display them and all that. Or you want to sort based on their marks, probably. Then you may have to do that particular thing. So all those things will be there as a part of it. So for reading the data, in the case of the Java language, now you have like in Java, because it is object-oriented language, so everything happens in terms of classes. So there is one utility class called scanner class. And this scanner class is actually available in a Java package called java.util. Util is a short name for utility. Java.util, it's not capital letter here, the very first word, is small only, right? Java is case sensitive, so one has to be careful there, definitely. So Java.util is the name of the package within which there is a class called scanner class. This scanner class can be used to read various types of data. If you want to read an integer, you can do that. If you want to read a real number, you can do that. If you want to read a name, a string name is nothing but string of characters. So you can read a string, you can read a name, right? But dates and all, you cannot do that straight away. But that is a different issue. Like you have to understand then what is a date. Date is dd/mm/yy. Date in the form of string may be available, right? So most of the times, any data type value can be represented as a string also. String also, it can be represented. So you require some mechanisms to convert string form of a particular data into corresponding thing. For example, when you say within the double quote 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, it's not the number 1, 2, 3, but it is a string of characters 1, 2, 3. So this is not a number. This is actually a string. Whereas when you say 1, 2, 3 like this, this is actually a number. Normally you call it as int, whatever. Whereas 123.45, it is a real number. Real numbers, you have two data types there. One is a float, and you also have double. By using float, it requires less space, but you can represent smaller range of numbers. By using double, you can do or represent bigger numbers. But how big it is and all that also you should be able to read and understand. So that's going to be there, like floating point representation, IEEE floating point representations are there. How you are going to do that and so on. That you normally study under computer organization, whatever, like but you should be able to ask a question. How do you internally represent real numbers? So there is IEEE format for representing floating point numbers. Anyhow, so the string form of a number is different, whereas the number itself is different, right? So you require sometimes mechanisms to convert string form of numbers into a numerical form internally. You require conversion tools or conversion methods. You require them. In fact, that's what exactly happens in the case of the C language. For example, when you say scanf, we use scanf in order to read data from the keyboard, right? Anything that you type from the keyboard, remember, it always generates only string of characters, including the numbers. So when you enter the key like 1, it's not entering the number 1, it is entering the character 1. So if you want to enter 123 as a number or whatever, you will be entering the string of characters 1, 2, 3. So you have to inform the scanner that the user might be entering this string of digits 1, 2, 3, but you are informing scanf that you convert that, like you say here, for example, %d and then ampersand x. What do you mean by this? What it is doing? It is actually a conversion tool. Scanf always reads the data from the keyboard, and from the keyboard, the user is entering the string of digits. So those string of digits, please convert those string of digits into a numerical form and then store it into the variable called x. That's what you really mean by scanf means. So all the languages do provide a mechanism to convert from string to like your normal numerical data type or whatever, or from numbers to string conversion also will be available. So for example, you cannot print like any number as it is onto the screen. Remember that. Whatever you are seeing on the screen, you will always be displaying only string form of the corresponding thing. So what you are seeing here on the screen, here is not a single number as it is, but you are seeing a string of the digits like characters 1, 2, 3.45 individual characters. Remember that. So whenever you want to display anything onto the screen, you have to convert the internal form of your integer into string form so that it can be displayed. That's what exactly your printf will do. Printf, whenever you do it, printf off. So that's why you say %d. Why are you saying this? Because like, and then after that, when you say x or z or whatever, what do you mean by that? Convert the value of this particular variable x into a decimal format, and then display it. That's what you are, it's a conversion tool again, remember that. So these things are available in different languages and different ways, but the nature is the same. They are provided in a by using a different syntax and semantics kind of entity. So in the case of Java language, if you want to read anything, these conversion tools, all of them are available through scanner class for reading the purpose. Whereas if you want to print it, we have already seen, right? If you want to print something, it's already there in the form of system.out. For example, printf. So we can use printf mechanism in order to print anything as a part of it. So it's already 3:42. Maybe we can complete what it is, one small program and then do that. That is one mechanism. The other is I'm just giving this as an assignment to you. You read this scanner class as well as system.out.printf about how to read data of different data types. Similarly, how to print data of different data types by using that. So, and you have a lot of resources. And one among them happens to be, already we have seen, is this particular thing, beginnersbook.com. Right? Here itself you can see here, in the next example itself you can see, import java.util.scan. Because in the previous example, always it will display 20 as a result. It's not reading anything. Data also is there as a part of the program itself. so that it will always display the same thing. Next version, you will be reading the data so that whatever the user enters, those numbers will be added. For that, there is a mechanism. You just go through this particular program also, and then other things are there. Just pay attention. I think it is very, very important. All of you are trying to do the PG course. Probably most of the times, because you are not settled at a UG level, you are doing this particular thing. So don't neglect and waste time. Already 4 years is over. In spite of that, you are in this stage for some reason. Remember, all the human beings have equal strength. The God-given gift of our mind is as powerful as anybody else. Only thing is how we use our mind. It depends from person to person. Some people will like just simply waste their time doing nothing, but the mind is capable, right? So that particular part you have to do that. You have to train your mind to spend your time on like productive things so that you can do better. Like it's hardly a 1.5 year or 2 years kind of thing. Within no time it will run away, right? So all of you, it is the beginning of the year. So resolve yourself that you want to do, learn something better, and definitely come out with flying colors at the end of the course. And this course, like Foundations of Computer Science, is very, very important. You will come to know as we move along. And always I will be using the system in order to explain that. And I expect all of you also to follow a similar this thing. Remember, when I am handling 1 hour or 2 hours class, I think if you at least work for 10 hours, right, or after the class on the same subject, only then you can do a right justice. You ask your classmates, whoever joins IITs or some other places, how much they actually work. It's not the brand IIT. So it is, so they make them to work and they also work in fact. And they are not different of any breed, different breed or anything like that. Right? So a lot of resources are there, make use of it. I don't want to stretch this again and again. And in my classes, you are always welcome to ask questions anytime. Feel free to ask. And you practice. If you have any, you got stuck somewhere, you can share your screen and show it to me. This is where I got stuck. Right? So these are the different ways of learning better. There's no point in teaching the same thing what you already know it. Right? So that's why you try to put some effort, try to learn. Whenever you got stuck, you keep that as a discussion. Then you can be lot more productive kind of thing. So I think with this for today, I'm just stopping at this level. And if you have any questions, feel free. You can ask me. So if no questions are there, we can close the session. Follow the instructions, like already the document is shared, go through that particular entity.
Yes, sir.
All right, so next week again, next Tuesday, no, next Friday, we will be meeting once again. So most likely we will stick to this Zoom kind of thing. Only in case of some difficulty, Google Meet we might. And these recorded sessions also, I will make them available later on. It might take a little bit time for things to be fall in line. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, attendance. Sir, attendance.
Attendance for the time being, I'm not giving that much importance because it's not kind of thing. Focus more on, that's what. Like. So let us say you are given the attendance, you are given the marks, do the best, right?
Definitely, sir. No doubt. Definitely.
Oh, right. So that's all. So that is our focus, more focus on that. Right. Okay, go ahead.
Thanks, sir. We are leaving meeting now.
Right, leave the meeting, right. Kind of.
Thanks a lot, sir. Bye. और एक काम होगा बोलो